longer. At any rate, we're back and looking forward to the rest of the comments today. And at the end, then we'll have some discussion at the board about where we can go and what our options are and make some decisions. So again, thank you for your patience. So going back to the queue, I have 5795 is next in the queue. Star 6 to unmute.
I'm sorry, it's 5798.
5798, yes. Thank you. 5798, star 6 to unmute. Actually, it's 5798 is what it's showing up here, right? 5798, you're on. Star 6 to unmute. Last chance, 5798. Oh, there you go.
Sorry, I don't know why the first 10 times I punched in star 6 it didn't work, but
thanks
for the 11th.
Thanks for your persistence.
This is Hannah White calling from Willow Creek, and appreciate the opportunity to have this public discussion. I think the unfortunate thing about this initiative is that it doesn't really consider the democratic process. It's an affront to the public process. It's anti-community. Cultivators were not considered when initiative was run for their behalf. Local environmental organizations were not considered about how best to implement potential policy to benefit the environment. Families' livelihoods were not considered. Misleading information got voters to sign enough times that put cultivators, county staff, and industry advocates into a tizzy to try and understand the total impacts. The county will be buried in litigation, staffing costs, enforcement will skyrocket, loss in rural property value will drop, reducing county coffers, reducing the amount of money the county has to be able to spend, that they will have to be able to develop this, hoping it goes away. But if it doesn't, you know, we're seeing this initiative, I see it as a carryover from the war on drugs. The proponents can't help the lies and disinformation that they were taught, and I understand that, but I hear that with age comes wisdom, and what I know as a person who often makes mistakes is the worst thing that you can do is continue to deny your mistakes. There's an opportunity here for the proponents to pull this initiative after hearing the incredible impacts that will be, maybe these weren't intended impacts, and please, I hope so, but if the intent is to destroy cannabis farmers and increase taxpayer costs that do not improve the best public interest, you know, is that what they want to have written about them in the Cal Poly Cannabis Studies history book as the 3 people who killed Humboldt County cannabis? Is that how you want to be remembered? Or do you want to be remembered for the people who made a mistake and came to the table and worked with the rest of your county, the rest of your community? That's what I ask for, is to please look inside of your hearts and pull this initiative. We can all sit down and talk. Supervisors want to talk. Planning wants to talk. Cultivators want to talk. Let's talk. Let's make the changes we need to see for our community, our environment, and our cultivators. Doesn't need to go down like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next in the queue, we have 2565.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Nate Madsen, speaking on my own behalf today. First off, I'd like to say thank you so much to all the supervisors for your thoughtful and considered questions. I want to say thank you to Director Ford and planning staff for all the work that went into that staff report. I read both the initiative and the staff report, and I think that all the effort that went into that was well worth it, and I'm sorry that it has to go that way. So I would like to bring to your attention something that hasn't been focused on too much in this process, the modifications in the initiative of 4.9.1. That section, I think it's on about page 3 or 4. I apologize for not having that handy. I'm out of the office today. That section is addressing coastal regulations as relates to inland and unincorporated areas of the county, and I'd just like supervisors to be attentive to that detail. I think it's really important. It is touched on in the staff report around page 23 or 24, section C and D, but I think that's an important detail to just have in the forefront. With that said, I want to say that the proponents are our friends, they're our neighbors. One of these 3 folks is one of my nearest and dearest from back in the day. We, spent a lot of time together. And I am just hoping that the concerns that are being voiced in this initiative are recognized as valid concerns, and that the proponents come to the table to discuss this with the supervisors, to discuss this with planning staff, and see if there's a way to resolve it, because what I believe are unintended consequences of this initiative are egregious. They are going to do more harm than good, and I just really hope that the proponents of this initiative can find it in their heart to come to the table, have discussions, and see if there's a better path forward. Thank you so much for the time to speak.
Thank you. And next we have 9009. *6 to unmute. There you go.
Hello, thank you. My name is Chris Benoche. I'm with Tina Gordon at Moonmaid Farms. And first of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Ford and the Board of Supervisors for hearing this initiative and putting out, voicing their concerns around it. We have been one of the first 50 permittees in Humboldt County, and over the years, we've worked with the county to represent small farmers here. And we would be one of those few cultivators that would be affected by any kind of 10,000 square foot limit. We're only a few thousand square feet over that limit, and even losing those few thousand square feet would affect our business along with many other small farmers that are in that 10 to 15,000 square foot range. We could also lose our potential for our solar grant. A grant that we've dreamed about and I appreciate the county and the DCC for helping us with. And want to be stewards of the land and want to be better stewards of the land and the environment in this community, and showed example of what a really awesome cannabis farm can be and represent Humboldt County with that, because Humboldt County has such a legacy around that we should all be really proud of. And this initiative could really hamper that. The cannabis is an economic pillar of this community, and it feels like this measure could really just put a squash on that and hinder how we can move forward in California and in the country as a landmark and represent what we are here, which is something to be really proud of, I think, for everybody involved. Thank you all for hearing us.
Thank you, commenter. And next is 5163. *6 to unmute. There. No, it dropped off. Okay, come back if you'd like. Next is 6754. There you go.
Thank you for taking my call. This is Brian from Bloxburg. I'm part of I have a cultivation license. I'm part of it. I would be affected by this. But when it comes down to it, we really need to open up transparency in how the process works. In the beginning, we fought for market share against corporate people down in Southern California. And instead of us getting into the market, we had to battle the planning department for at least 6 years for some of these pre-existing. I think the frustration within the public came was when we saw new cultivation sites of 10,000 square feet and more be passed with such ease. In 2017, you had 106 permits permitted. In 2018, there were 299 permits. How many of those are actually pre-existing? That would be a great answer for Director Ford to answer, because what happened was in this whole process, we allowed pre-existing to be pushed behind, and we took new cultivation of these big grows and we fast-tracked them, and it frustrated the public. As you go up AP, there's a new cultivation. We see 17 water tanks underneath the metal thing, and I'm sorry for this owner because he just wants to be part of the game, but it's appalling to see it as we drive up. We're a land of beauty. You destroyed our beauty within the land because of greed. Now, our industry, we don't fight each other in Humboldt County. We can grow as much as we want in Humboldt County, and we will never satisfy the needs of the world. The world wants cannabis. Humboldt County is going to be out of the game because we took new cultivation, fast-tracked it through, took all our pre-existing, pushed them back, and then we went and abated half of our constituents. Now, we've got lawsuits against the abatements. What we need to do now is stop bickering, go to a plan, and start a new initiative. But you need to be transparent. You have to show any new cultivation site over 10,000 square feet. Let the public see the whole process. When I go and look at all these APN numbers and look at these new cultivation sites, some of them got zoning permits in 7 months. Some of them got in 8 months. If you come back to my pre-existing, 28 months to get a signed planner. That's unacceptable. So what you did was you took a whole bunch of pre-existing and made them angry. That's why you had 2 people just comment that they signed this petition. You've literally destroyed Humboldt County and our biggest industry moving forward.
30
I've
seconds.
gone over with some consultants. If I group 100 co-op pre-existing farms, we are the 10th largest company in cannabis in the United States. So our future is in limbo, and we need the Board of Supervisors to get a new initiative, be transparent to the public, and show them what is going on, and keep this industry alive. Please. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, commenter, and thank you, Dog, for your comments as well. So next we've got 0330 in the queue. *6 to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Okay, I'll keep this short. I agree with a lot of the other commenters. I just wanted to add that I think we should stop saying these are unintended consequences. I think the HCRI has spent lots of money. They know exactly what they want to achieve, and they don't want, or they know it cannot be amended. I have a 10,000 square foot farm just past Bestia Mark, and it's abundantly clear after reading the report from the planning department that this initiative would not support me, and that the HCRI has no actual interest with working with anyone to develop a plan that would actually serve Humboldt County in a better way. I would like the board to announce an opposition to the initiative and discuss the cost of litigation that would occur if this is voted in. I would like the board to look into suing the HCRI for all of the misleading and deceptive ways they collected signatures and created a mistrust in the way that the legislative process actually works. I think their tactics are insulting to us and all the hard work that's been done here in the planning department and by all of us. We know the county isn't rubber stamping permits, as Betsy has said. It took me personally 6 years and over, I don't know, $100,000 in reports from multiple state and local agencies to get approved. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you for taking your time to listen.
Thank you, commenter. And next we have 2275. *6 to unmute. *2275. You're in the queue. And one last time. There you are. Welcome.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm sorry, my hand's free. This is Kelly O'Rourke. I work in the industry. I live in Humboldt, own property in Humboldt. Single parent, raising my daughter in Humboldt. I'm not going to repeat everything everyone else has said. I think staff did a great job at unpacking this initiative. I just wanted to really express my opposition, of course, and also express just my support for a collaborative effort in this community and working toward healing and reconciliation for everyone involved. And also just recognizing the cultural work that we have to do to, bring everybody into the fold and work together. So I'm happy to volunteer my time. I founded a nonprofit here in town. I have visited over 50 regenerative cannabis farms just this last season, over 90 inspections total. So I've met a lot of these people that this is going to affect, and it's no good for them. And I'm happy to speak with anybody, give information, and also, whatever we can do to come to some kind of solution here. So I really hope that, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. And next we have 2784, *6 to unmute. There you go.
Hi, my name is James Viewer. I'm a welder fabricator. Actually moved here from Michigan with my 3 kids a couple of years ago. And I've been privy to witness kind of what's happened in the farming community and how the Board of Supervisors has handled all of these difficult problems. And I just want to offer some kudos to you guys. I'm glad to see that you're trying to do your best and being fair when you handle these things. The first thing I want to point out is 10,000 square feet keeps getting brought up a lot, and clearly there's a cap in this initiative, and it saddens me to hear other farmers bring up 10,000 square feet like it's a big thing. I just want to point out to everyone, 20,000 square feet is under half an acre, and there was a lot of talk of a 1 acre cap for quite a while at the beginning of all this cannabis stuff. So I just wanted to point that out. The other thing I wanted to say is that it's very clear to me that this initiative is designed to kill the legal cannabis industry. I get the impression that the people who put it forth don't like cannabis. I'm assuming they didn't like illegal cannabis. They don't like legal cannabis, but they sure benefited from illegal cannabis for many years from the families who cultivated cannabis illegally and risked their lives and their freedom to put food in their kids' mouths. And those communities benefited from schools and community centers and from the trimmers who came in every season and bolstered the economy. I live in southern Humboldt. It looks like a bomb's gone off. I believe I've brought that up the many times I've called in to talk to you guys. It seems like there may have been some illegal activity around the acquiring of these signatures, misrepresentation. That is a fraud. I believe that should be looked into. Obviously, ethically, sounds like the board cannot come out against the initiative, but the individual members have the power to do so. And anything that the Board of Supervisors can do to illuminate to the public what the actual meaning behind the initiative is, I think should be done with as much fury as possible. And the last thing I want to say is cannabis cultivation is already enormously difficult. It's very expensive. It's become cost prohibitive for many small farms. And the more regulation that...
That is my fault. He may call back. I muted him on accident.
Okay, you can't unmute him right away?
I can try.
He could.
Give him 1 second.
If you're listening, 2784, you can, there you go. We're back. Sorry, we unmuted you.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
That's all right. I appreciate it. I just want to wrap up and say I really appreciate it. The amount of regulation of cannabis on cannabis farmers is extreme. But the Board of Supervisors has done a lot to support the community and the industry. And I really just hope that you guys can do whatever you can to squash this. Thanks for the time.
Thank you very much, commenter. And next we have 8496, *6 to unmute.
Hi, this is Laura Lassiter with the Southern Humboldt Business and Visitor Bureau, and thank you for this time. Thank you, Director Ford and staff, for your very detailed report. I will keep this brief. I have to, just say tourism. The county and the cannabis industry needs the capacity to build tourism infrastructure and the ability to get public accommodation permits. If passed, the HCRI would prohibit any new tourism permits. In addition, the HCRI does not support the industry, the county, or the strategic framework for the County of Humboldt. The HCRI is detrimental on many levels to the County of Humboldt. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And thanks, the little one, too. It is a family affair. So 2223, you are next. *6 to unmute. There you go.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good afternoon. This is Craig Johnson, owner and operator of Up and Glow Farms in Southern Humboldt. I appreciate time from the supervisor and our entire community that has poured over these documents and come to realize what is happening here. I want to thank the planning department over the years, diligently working with each and every cultivator through the way to help us get through the process. We've worked all this time and put all this energy in as a community. Hearings, planning hearings, inspections, and we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere as a community. I want to also mention that during one of these inspections, which we do have, Fish and Wildlife was very impressed with our farm, and they asked us to be part of one of their programs to highlight what cannabis can look like into the future. With that said, we are Compliant Farm certified. We're Dragonfly Earth Medicine Peer certified. We've worked hard to be stewards of the land over the years, before, after, and during legalization. That is never going to change. Our dream is to finally open up, to be able to have educational workshops and tours on our farm. We get reached out daily from all over the world, people that want to come and visit and learn. That would stop. That would all stop when this happens. I ask Betsy, Mark, and the other folks behind this initiative, please, pull this. You have the ability to stop all this. We want to be able to move forward, finally, with the support of our community and the support of our local government. Again, I ask you, please pull this. Thank you so much. Craig Johnson.
Thank you. And next we have 0069. There you go.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Great. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. Thank you to the Board of Supervisors for opening up dialogue for this, and thank you to Director Ford and the staff for doing such an extensive report on something that greatly and deeply impacts my life, my emotions. This is Melanie Johnson. I'm a 21-year Humboldt County resident, and I'm a 19-year Humboldt County landowner. I expressed my frustration on this fraudulent initiative back in November, and I am grateful for the experts in this county as they have confirmed what myself and many community members knew, that this initiative is fraudulent and it's designed to inflict harm and hurt on those it claims to protect. My early frustrations towards the creators of this initiative have turned to sadness. I cannot fathom, let alone imagine, spending the precious time I've been graciously given on this beautiful gift called life, thinking and planning and then executing presumptuous and assumptuous ideas that greatly and deeply impact others. And as we've found out, it does not seem to benefit anyone. The harm created by the designers of this initiative was premeditated. Harm is thoughtful and the harm is continuous. The fact that my family and I have to defend our life and our property rights to an individual in the community, who is geographically an hour and a half from our homestead, and one who we have done absolutely no harm to, it's beyond hurtful and beyond bizarre. This is my life, this is my family, this is my home, and this is my state licensed legal business. I'm again expressing that those who would be impacted by this initiative will experience harm, and the experts have concluded that this is true. I am confident that my family and my community will continue to hold steadfast against those who wish to inflict harm against us, and I'm confident that the county will continue to support us in our defense. I'm asking the creators of this initiative that you hear this truth, that you hear my truth, you hear this community's truth. And this is the truth that has been confirmed by the county. And we ask that the organizers of this initiative to withdraw it at once. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next we have 3053. *6 to unmute. *3 *6. Last chance, 3053. This is your opportunity. If you're listening to the audio on the video feed, it's delayed. Turn it off. Okay, 3053. We're going to move on to the next caller, and that would be 8497. There you go.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Thank you, everybody. This is Jeff Churchill, owner of Kinsey Ridge Farms. I'm basically in the middle of nowhere in the snow.
Yeah,
it's great to be here to talk with everybody, and I appreciate the time that the planning department and the supervisor have spent to look at this initiative and actually give a true, concise presentation of actually what it is going to entail for our county and our local cannabis community. We have numerous compliance agreements with the planning department, and it doesn't seem attainable anymore if this initiative moves through. For the environment, for our farm, for the county, for anybody. It's not going to be attainable. Our choice probably would be to shut the farm down. And we were given grant money from the county or from the state. That grant money wouldn't be spent. We would probably just hand it back. It is for water improvements that bring water from a non-impacted cannabis zone to an impacted cannabis zone. So giving great environmental benefits. Again, that would not happen. We have a solar grant, which would add a structure. Would not happen. We do live on a Category 4 road, but these other pieces just would make it impossible to bring our farm into compliance. So again, we're going back in time, as numerous people have stated. The planning department, the supervisors, I've worked with a lot of people down there. Everything has gone very well. It's taken a lot of time, and we moved through a lot of hurdles, but we're there. We're struggling, but so is everybody else. And I really feel that the proponents of this are looking to save their own little community. They don't want to look out and see cannabis. But what are they going to attack next? They could look out and see
30 seconds.
A sheep farm next to them. So let's conclude. If anyone is listening and you feel you were misinformed in signing this document, signing this initiative, please reach out to your supervisor and voice your opinion. This is going to mean a lot during litigation. And I feel that the people who built this initiative aren't ready to...
Thank you, commenter. That's 3 minutes. Goes quick. Stay safe in that snow. And the last hand up we have in Zoom is 2403. *6 to unmute.
Good afternoon, Keisha Machete, a compliance advisor. I work with cannabis farmers in the community for the past 7 years. I'm glad that I was able to catch this on the agenda today. My schedule is super slammed, but this is really important. This is kind of old news. I feel like, it's definitely something that might have been more important 4 years ago when we were looking at, possible large operations, choking out watersheds and creating environmental harm. But I think we've done a really good job of offsetting a lot of that damage to the point where it's crippled our community. So, I'd really like to see this pulled. I don't think there's a need for it at this point. I think we need to figure out how to recover our community, and maybe an initiative that focuses on that is a little bit more of a priority at this point. So I will conclude at that. Thank you for all the work and doing the due diligence on looking at this, and I hope we can move forward from here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next we have 3053. Welcome back. *6 to unmute. Ooh, that was quick. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Thomas Mulder here. I just want to confirm you can hear me, Chair.
Yes, we can.
So I haven't heard all the comments. I've been driving in and out of service. I think you all know where I stand. I feel that the county should do whatever it can legally do within its power. I understand it can't take a motion against this initiative, but I feel it should do as much as possible that it's legally allowed to do, and maybe even file a lawsuit against the creators of this initiative for misuse of taxpayer money, because a lot of these signatures were acquired via false information, false claims. And if I was going to take a guess, I'd say the county's got probably $100,000 tied up into the report you see before you today in staff time between November and today. I think that's a big misuse of taxpayer dollars. I don't think those are things that we should be utilizing taxpayer dollars on. I think we should be utilizing that for anything, maybe more grants or something like that. I will say personally, I'm thankful that I've installed an extra 100,000 gallons of water storage before this came out, so it sounds like as long as I don't need to change anything, I might be okay. I do hold more than one permit, so I don't know how I'm going to deal with that part. And I guess, my daughter's 21, so maybe I can put one of them in her name. I really don't know, but this is the worst thing for Humboldt County, and I have no idea how long. But please do whatever you can to fight against this. And if you don't stand to fight against this, please resign from this board, because I don't feel that I just don't really think that you would care about Humboldt County. Look at the trickle-down economic effects that have taken place since the cannabis industry has been in a downturn. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, commenter. And next, and this is the last hand up in Zoom at this point. Last time I said that, 3 more hands came up. So this is 7003. *6 to unmute. There you go. Welcome. Go ahead. *7003, you are unmuted. Give us your thoughts. Maybe you're driving as well. After this, we're going to go to the people in the room, and that'll be it for the Zoom. So I'll ask you one more time, 7003, who now just disappeared. Okay, well, that's it in Zoom. So now we're going to bring it back here to the room, and please come forward, and if you want to share your name, that's great, and let us know what you think. You got 3 minutes. Welcome.
Thank you, supervisors and staff. My name is Ross Gordon. I'm the policy director with Humboldt County Growers Alliance. We're the trade association that represents licensed cannabis operators in Humboldt County. Want to appreciate the board for directing staff to produce this report. Want to thank the planning department for providing a very thorough, comprehensive, and in our view, really accurate report on the effects of this initiative were it ever to pass. We had a number of comments going through substantively what's in this initiative. I don't feel that's necessary. I think it's been covered by a range of other folks. And so I wanted to talk really primarily about collaboration and about that sort of principle for moving forward. We do a lot of collaboration as HCGA. I personally, am really committed to collaboration, understanding many political issues, particularly cannabis, are very contentious issues. There are many different perspectives. There are many different stakeholders. We have to be able to talk to each other and hear each other's perspective. That said, collaboration, at least from my perspective, is very difficult in this case because this policy has been analyzed very thoroughly. This policy has now been in the public view for over a year. It was sent to the Humboldt County Office of Elections in March. It was not publicly available before that, but it was after that. It has been analyzed by us, by lots of small farmers, now by the planning department, and everyone's reached the same conclusion, which is that this is broken policy and it's harmful policy. And so that's very clear at this point. I don't think there's a lot of controversy at this point. And in my experience working on policy, when there is a harmful policy, you are not committed to supporting it at any point. It's very possible to not double down and pull this policy. And if we're going to have a conversation collaboratively about what collaborative changes to the ordinance might look like, it would be very helpful to not have this hanging over our heads as something that we all agree is bad policy that's going to hurt people. I don't know how we have a truthful, honest conversation with the proponents if we can't start from that place that is based on comprehensive analysis that's been done. And so the most helpful thing for collaboration that can happen, in my view, is for the proponents to pull this initiative and then engage in that open and public process on what changes need to be made to the ordinance. I wanted to make a few technical comments very briefly. We sent a letter to the supervisors on this question of the board taking a formal opposed position. It had a link to a document from Institute of Local Government that suggested the governing body of a jurisdiction may take an opposed position. My understanding reading that is distinct from the county taking an opposed position, but the governing body, meaning the Board of Supervisors, may.
30 seconds.
That could be wrong. That was our own research that we were doing, so please confirm that, but I wanted some clarity on that. And then I was hoping potentially the planning department could elaborate on some of what they put forward in terms of conflicts between the general plan and the initiative text, as well as impacts on coastal zone issues, and whether that would require further amendments to either the general plan or the initiative itself were this to pass to resolve some of those conflicts. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good afternoon, members of the board and staff here. My name is Paul Hagan. I'm an environmental lawyer. I live and work in Arcata. I've lived in Humboldt County for 23 years. I was an environmental prosecutor for 11 years, 8 of which I spent here in Humboldt County as an environmental prosecutor. I was a city attorney for Trinidad for 4 years and for Blue Lake for a little while. Had a lot of experience in public service, public law. And I understand what's facing you and our community now. I've also had a lot of cannabis clients since 2016. I am an environmental attorney as well as an environmental lawyer, and I have a lot of land use experience as well as litigation. There's a conundrum that exists within any type of environmental compliance, particularly when you're in a dangerous area. One of the dilemmas I always faced as an environmental prosecutor was when I was going after companies who were legitimate and had kept records, and their records incriminated themselves. And then I had to use their evidence against them, and that was a problem for me because all those people who weren't in compliance were going scot-free and harder to prove. And so that was just part of the gig, part of the game that I had and had to work in. And you've heard some people allude to that already today, and that's not an unusual thought. People understand this intuitively, business people generally. An issue that I've not yet heard that I'd like to bring to your attention is that of vested rights. Vested rights. And this is for county council and other people to instruct you on far more than I, but the idea is that people have been issued permits, even if they're not fully completed, if they gain legitimate expectations after they put substantial investments of their time and money into their property pursuant to a government grant of authority. when a permit's been issued, even though it's incomplete or temporary or something, and people start pouring money into their land, especially sunk costs, that they cannot retrieve, and later on there's something comes along and removes this permit, they have a violation of their property rights. This is a land use issue. So it's a vested rights. It's a doctrine in the law. So really what you've got to worry about, among other things with this initiative, is what it's going to do to corrupt your ordinances. And all the people who are acting for both the first and the second ordinance. This is a huge problem. So I think it's a terrible initiative. That's my personal opinion. But as an attorney, and if I was to counsel the board, which I'm not doing, but just urge people to think about, there is a vested rights issue for all of your constituents here. They own property, they pay taxes, they're doing everything right, and they're getting hammered now after all this other stuff that's happened throughout the years. So please think of that and do whatever you can to bring this to bear in your decision. And I always want to thank people who give themselves to public service. All of you elected people here today and those who serve you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You can do this thing. No clapping, please. Thanks. Yes, welcome.
My name is Riley Morrison. I'm a community member and small cannabis farmer in Willow Creek. I have two asks. Supervisors, please formally oppose this initiative individually. Proponents, Betsy Watson and Mark Thurman, please withdraw this initiative from the ballot so that we can work together and develop policy that works for the community, environment, and cultivators. If this initiative passes, it will destroy my ability to implement my business plan and will wither our farm down to its bones. My wife and I cultivate environmentally mindful practices, raise our sons with integrity in the rural county, and invest our time serving our greater community. We designed our farm business with a phased build approach, allowing buffers through poor market conditions and time to accumulate the capital to develop, as we have never taken investment and there is no other way. Over the next 2 years, we plan to build a barn, allowing a new roof line, increased solar collection, develop farm stay and ecological tourism components. If this initiative is passed, this type of development would be considered cultivation expansion, requiring us to reduce our cultivation by 65% to implement, rendering the hundreds of thousands of dollars invested into infrastructure, electrical infrastructure, and other improvements useless and a total loss. If this bad policy is to pass, the proponents' lasting legacy will be the wasted taxpayer dollars spent funding the increased time demand on county staff to over-process cultivation permits as the new system boxes and suffocates the current cannabis farmer into complete extinction. To the proponents, if your intent, as I quote, to transition the industry to a small-scale, environmentally cannabis farmer, please see that there are no gimmicks in this staff report, and that the only way to affirm your stated goals and to support the small farmer and the environment is to withdraw this initiative from the ballot. Otherwise, as the language stands, it appears that the HCRI was created with malice and intent to destroy legal cannabis cultivators, and at best demonstrates the proponents have no moral integrity and have duped 7,000 voters with fraud who signed this petition to protect the cultural and economic assets of this community.
Thank you. And next.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome.
My name is Polly Kinsinger, and I'm a small cultivator in eastern Humboldt County. I'm here today to request that, based on the very thorough report submitted to you by the County Planning Department, that you officially oppose the HCRI as written and submitted. Due to the instability of our industry, my farm has gone from 25,000 square feet of cultivation to just over 4,000 square feet under two small cottage licenses on over 200 acres of land. That's 4,000 square feet on 8,712,000 square feet of land. It's a really small little amount of cultivation on my property. I steward all of that land, not just my cultivation portion. If this initiative is permitted to go forward and the misinformation it convinces the public that it is good for small farmers, I will lose what is left of my farm and my way of life. I've always taken the environment into account when I made any changes to my land for cultivation. I cut no trees in the white and black oak forest, and I was careful to cover any disturbed ground to minimize any silt discharge. My father had a road cut in the property in 1970, and over the years it deteriorated and washed away in parts. When I developed the property for cultivation, I improved the shape of the road, added rock, and put culverts. In 10 years I have lived on the property. None of the road has deteriorated since I've been there. Yes, there are bad apples that have come and made us collectively look bad, but many of them have gone. Most of us who remain run our farms ethically and with the environment and community in mind. We've taken a huge hit to our industry in this county, but the remarkable group of resilient people I am blessed to call my community stand strong and are here to tell you that we want to survive. We want to continue to be stewards of our environment and our communities. Please do not allow this initiative to go any further and guarantee the complete destruction of this admittedly odd but important legacy of Humboldt County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good afternoon, supervisors, Director Ford, and staff. I want to thank you guys, first of all, for the excellent report you guys produced. My name is Indy Riggs. I'm a cannabis farmer down in Stafford. My garden is a humble 3,000 square foot craft garden. In the year and a half since I completed the regulatory process and received my cultivation license, I have already had 3 inspections from 3 separate agencies. Proof, in fact, that you guys are doing your jobs and there is a regulatory process we all must follow. In addition to these, I've also had voluntary inspections for different environmental certification programs like Sun and Earth. I am not alone in this. All cultivators of cannabis in Humboldt County experience this. It is a part of the process. As stated in this report presented from planning staff, cultivators have been whittled down from a peak of 15,000 independent gardens to a little over 1,000. The last of us standing, some of whom are in this room, my colleagues. We are the wheat separated from the chaff. We are still here because we are community members, because we love Humboldt County, and because we are stewards of the environment. The claims in this initiative of our county being overrun by large-scale cultivators and the proponents' desire to save the small farmer are misleading, and they are simply false. The proposed overhaul of local regulations in this initiative would hamstring small cultivators like myself, inhibiting my ability to adapt and change to changing market conditions or add improvements to my property or operation. And they would also put a stranglehold on our planning department. The cost to process 1,000 annual license renewals to the citizenry and the taxpayers of Humboldt County alone should be enough to tell us all that this initiative is not only terrible for all cultivators in Humboldt County, but terrible for all residents of Humboldt County. It is not too late to retain the world-famous name Humboldt County has built for itself and its reputation for the best cannabis in the world. There is momentum building for craft cannabis. There is momentum building in the consumer market for ecologically sound cannabis, and there is momentum building to form a cooperative sector in the cannabis industry. As a member of this community, I long for the day the division some of us still feel in their hearts would finally melt away, and people like myself would at last be greeted with open arms rather than shunned and treated as a criminal. This initiative sadly furthers this divide we feel, and I solemnly beg the proponents to pull this initiative and for you supervisors to do everything you can in your power to publicly oppose it or just oppose it. Thank you for the time, and thank you all for your support.
Thank you. And next, welcome.
Hi there. My name is Sandy DeLuca, and I'm a local real estate agent here in Humboldt County. So during my time in real estate, doing real estate in this county, I've had my feet on hundreds and hundreds of farms. And what I talk to people about is I talk to people about the value of their property because of the assets on their property. And those assets over the last several years have people been putting in their life savings to put in culverts, to correct roads, to move things over and do all the things that they're obligated to do in order to have a legal cannabis farm. I'd also like to mention that one of the things I tell people when they call me on the phone is I say, well, when we opened up our permitting, when our deadline was December of 2016, and our county basically got 10 years worth of work in 3 or 4 months. And so that means that a lot of people aren't finished doing the permitting process. And so So that's really important to me, and I experience it with the sellers and I experience it with the buyers because I'm reminding them of the things they have to look for and the costs they're going to have, and I'm also putting myself on the line saying, these are the rules that we've already created and these are the rules we're following, and I'm always very afraid because those are changing. And if something goes wrong, they're going to come back and say that I was wrong or I cheated them or something like that. So that's something I'm really aware of throughout the process. I'd also like to bring up two more things. I'd like to say that the gentleman that had his stand at all these different locations, I went up and spoke to him several times. And as I spoke to him, I was very kind and let him give his presentation to me. And when he gave his presentation to me, it was clear. I know what I'm talking about, and these gentlemen here all see me in that county office all the time asking questions because I try to make sure I know what I'm talking about. That gentleman did not know what he was talking about, and neither did the people who were there gathering signatures. They were misleading. I don't know why, when, what, if they were doing it on purpose. It was obvious to me that they hated cannabis. It felt. But they were definitely misleading and they were getting signatures. And my fear is that they got over 7,000 signatures. If this is allowed to go to the vote, how many people are going to walk up there and read the little blurb and just say yes? If this goes that far, we have an obligation to inform the public before they take an action like that, because I heard somebody say a bomb went off in Garberville. I see that. I can't sell houses in Bridgeville, and I tell people that that was a company town and the company is shut down. And so the value of your own home is dependent upon the people, what the economic level of the people in that community. So the value, if they can't pay for that mortgage, the price has to come down. So what's happening in our county is going to affect all of us. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. And next, welcome.
Hello, thank you, board. I really appreciate your thoughtfulness always. Thank you, staff. That report was incredibly detailed. It brought up things I had not realized. I don't want to be redundant. So much has already been said. As a farmer, my name's Dylan Matola. I have a farm in Honeydew. I would be affected adversely on a lot of levels by various things in this. There's just no question about that. Staff has told me they are the ones that would be affecting me, so I believe them. Here we are again. It's like, once again, I'm standing in front of you fighting a proponent or fighting an adversary, really, who's coming at just my ability to be legal, run a business, and be compliant. It's exhausting. I don't think the general public understands, as business owners, what we have to deal with on a daily basis. We have weekly calls, bi-weekly calls. I'm on multiple boards, committees, just to stay in business. There's 7,000 people signed this. I have not heard a single call-in or a single person. There's still some people behind me. Maybe somebody will speak in favor of it. Where are the proponents? They are not even here. So there's conversation I keep hearing. You need to talk to them. I've reached out to them. I've sent emails. There is no response. They don't want to talk to us. They are not even here today. They wrote this initiative. They've put us through this process of having to deal with this, and they didn't even have the respect to show up. That's offensive. I will just say that. Rex, you brought up something that I think should not be missed. This stemmed from a project in front of their property that they could see. They went through the process. They appealed it. They fought that owner. They won. He was taken from 40,000 square feet of outdoor down to 10,000 square feet in the ground. Outdoor regenerative plan is what he was going to do. He hasn't done it. It's not even financially viable. They should be happy. They should say, look, this process worked. There are problems pre-existing, like Roby Tenario mentioned. There are things that happened in this process that weren't ideal. Part of the reason why so many of these new permits got improved in front of the pre-existing is because they were coming down to prime ag. That's what the ordinance called for. That's what the push was. People wanted to bring it out of the hills down. That's why the permits got approved quicker on those places. And it is sometimes unsightly, and it is a change to your neighborhood. But this is Humboldt County. We grow weed. Somebody sent me today a link that everybody should go look at. Levi Strauss on their website is selling a shirt that says Humboldt. That's who we are. That brand that mega corporation is putting out there to sell shirts with our name on it is not because of anything except weed. That's what built that brand.
Thank you. And next, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, supervisors. I'm Nathan Whittington. I own Ladybug Herbal Sanctuary. My grandma loves the name. And I'm here to tell you that I'm a pre-existing environmental steward of sustainable cannabis agriculture. Everybody in this room is. Everyone who's pre-existing, the 739 farms who came out of the dark, came and worked with John Ford and the planning department to get our properties environmentally stable, worked with CDFW, worked with all these agencies. The collaborative effect of Humboldt County cannabis farmers is very clear. We like to openly communicate. We invite all of you to our farms. The report that Director Ford and the planning department put out is quite comprehensive, and it sheds a light on the progress we have attained so far, and it highlights opportunities to improve. You know, I would say one thing that's positive about this initiative is that the goal, the intent seemed appropriate. It's just the execution that was done incorrectly. And so we need to take the time now to address that, change our stance, and come up with better solutions. You know, one thing I want to point out is when we did the environmental impact report, looking at the baseline of the county operations, 15,000 grows, taking water, destroying roads, all of the issues. Now we're down to about 1,200. That is a net reduction in the baseline impacts that cannabis has had on our community. Mission accomplished. Now it's time for us to take that mission and redirect it into expanding the opportunities for our cannabis cultivation operators. There's two things we can do right now, and there's a third question, or something I would like to ask. One thing that wasn't brought up in the report is the implementation costs, the enforcement costs. I think our voters need to know exactly how much this initiative will cost them at the end of the day, because they're the ones who are going to have to pay for it. And I think this board needs to seriously look at coming out with a statement of opposition in whatever manner that's allowed by law. And the third thing I want to say is it's clear that we need to move forward with some new changes to the ordinance. And, you know, this report showed that. Everybody here in the room showed that. Our community's talking about that.
30 seconds.
So maybe it's time for us to direct staff to start collaborating with the cannabis community, look for ways to improve our ordinance, and come up with a competing initiative. Those are our options right now. I urge your board to find the best path forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, board. Hi, staff. My name is Sequoia Hudson. I thank you for your time and all the work that's been done on this matter. I'm here actually to really support a lot of what's been said. I really appreciate what the previous speaker just talked about. He did tap for a moment on what I wanted to just come up here and say today, and that really has to do with the intent of the whole ordinance to begin with, and also to briefly talk about getting here today. We've all went through a very collaborative process over the years since prior to 2018 when it was drafted and written into stone. And we want to continue in that collaborative process. And unfortunately, this Cannabis Reform Initiative did not engage in that process and that collaborative spirit and work with the people that had already worked so hard to do this. There's actually a section in our ordinance as written that we worked on together at the beginning, and I just wanted to read it because it is the purpose and intent of our land use ordinance and why it's here. The purpose of this section is to establish land use regulations concerning the commercial cultivation, processing, manufacturing, distribution, testing, and sale of cannabis for medicinal or adult use within the County of Humboldt in order to encourage safe, reasonable, and responsible growth that reduces negative impacts on our community and environment, increases public awareness and community health and safety while creating a clear and attainable path for operators to follow and authorities to enforce. These regulations are intended to ensure the public health, safety, and welfare of residents of the County of Humboldt, visitors to the county, persons engaged in regulated commercial cannabis activities, including their employees, neighboring property owners, and end users of medicinal or adult use cannabis, to protect the environment from harm resulting from cannabis activities, including but not limited to streams, fish and wildlife, residential neighborhoods, schools, community institutions, and tribal cultural resources, to ensure the security of state-regulated medicinal or adult use cannabis, and to safeguard against the diversion of state-regulated medicinal or adult use cannabis for purposes not authorized by law. To this end, these regulations identify where in the county the various types of commercial cannabis activities can occur and specify what type of permit is required, the application process, and the approval criteria that will apply. I really implore the proponents of this initiative to engage in the process we've all engaged in to accomplish this purpose and intent collaboratively and together to continue pursuing these goals. With that said, I hope that we can figure out a path to be able to make that happen.
Thank you. Next, welcome.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. Natalie DeLapp, Executive Director, Humboldt County Growers Alliance. And I'm really grateful that I just had the opportunity to go after Sequoia and Nate, because the three of us have been in these supervisor chambers for more than 8 years. Since the beginning of 2015, when MMRSA was becoming an idea, we have engaged meaningfully through a transparent, collaborative, democratic process. Not one time, 2 times. We've also been to I don't even know how many Planning Commission hearings. This room, when we were not able to come here during COVID, was kind of sad. I missed it. But this is the hall of democracy in Humboldt County. There is an already existing collaborative, transparent process that we've all been going through. The proponents of the HCRI have not done that. They did not engage the industry. Frankly, they didn't even engage the environmental community, which is why EPIC submitted a letter of opposition earlier today. They have circumvented collaborative process. They are holding our industry hostage. We ask them, Betsy, Mark, please, drop this. This is not good policy. We are not making this up. This is backed by fact, and it is utterly destructive. The fact that they are not here, that they have not called in, that they're not here to defend their document is contemptuous. The fact that on your agenda that you may have to try to negotiate and get in this ad hoc committee when they've already said basically go kick rocks, and then they haven't showed up here. And Rex's famous statement, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, right? They're not here. We are here. We've been here with you, and we need your help. We need your support. We need you to oppose this initiative. We need you to educate the public. We need ongoing education, because clearly the public does not understand what we have been through for the last 8 years. They think if I was just a regular person signing that initiative, that we hadn't done all this work because, well, they misinterpreted. They didn't bring everything to the table. They'd think like we didn't even have any cannabis ordinances. That's not okay. So their 7,000 person leverage point is
30
BS.
seconds.
That's not okay. And they're not calling in, neither are they. Our industry is here. They've made it through the snow. They've been spending their time, and we have done everything we possibly can over the last 7-8 years to be part of this community and be proud of it. We do have something worth fighting for, and we need your support today. Please oppose the Humboldt Cannabis Reform Initiative. Thank you.
Welcome.
It's nice to be here. Suzanne from Margot Advisors. We sent a deck to you folks, and hopefully you've had a chance to look through it. A response from that deck when we sent it out to all of our farmers, a 40-year resident. She owns a long-running florist business and a small cannabis plot. And her only response was, just surreal. Can this get any more heartbreaking? I couldn't say it any differently. I feel the same way. I was approached to sign the initiative, but I had already read it. And maybe I'm a bit naive, but I thought, wow, I can really help them understand the flaws in their initiative. I didn't come with any other agenda to help them understand. I was told that I was uninformed and I was unreasonable. I have worked in the trenches for 7 years for this community, for our local farmers, and for our economy. We have lived and breathed helping this process. And it cuts deep. They are not people to be reasoned with or negotiated with. Margro Advisors recommends that this board develops their own initiative. And I think we should call it the real Small Farmer Initiative. We hope the supervisors will oppose this ballot and consider its own ballot initiative, which can even correct issues and resolve ongoing challenges, such as inadequate propagation area for small craft farmers. Let them be competitive in California. Don't hold them back. I have just a few more seconds. My phone is getting blown up by our employees back at the office. So I just need to honor them. I was told that Election Code 9111 says that this report from planning was due not later than 30 days after the petition is certified. Under 9118, the board only had two choices: adopt the ordinance or order an election. Not sure what we're doing
30
here.
seconds.
So I cannot confirm that this is accurate information, but I trust my staff enough to bring it up here. We need to do an initiative of our own. And I do believe, coming in here even before reading those two codes, I do believe that that is our solution that we should move forward with. We cannot have an ad hoc committee and waste our time with people who...
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Dashel. I have licensed cultivation here in Humboldt County and live on my farm in Dinsmore full-time. As a farmer, I have countless concerns with this bill. The first is it wouldn't allow us to expand our solar in any capacity. This means we can't add to our existing system annually as we have the funds to do so. This means we'll never have full sustainability on the farm. It would also not allow us to expand our existing rain catchment systems or add additional rain catchment tanks, allowing us to forbear and not use our existing permanent well during the summer. It would also not allow us to form a co-op and hold a multi-licensed facility like processing and distribution on the same property. This prevents us and other small farms from working together and results in a loss of revenue not only for us farmers, but for the county as well. A new concern of mine after listening to this meeting is that my cultivation license would also be in jeopardy at the time of its renewal, even though we've been going through the permitting process with the county on our pre-existing cultivation since December of 2016. Our county is one of the only counties in the state with restrictions on nursery space as well. We need more support from the county to be competitive and to thrive. We don't need more restrictions. Thank you.
Thank you. And looks like our final speaker. Welcome.
My name is Bill Dameron, and I have Sodfather Farms in Willow Creek. I moved here in 1977. I've been in this industry for 43 years. In 2016, I decided I think the best thing for me to do is try to go legal and try to improve my county and our way of life as a family. Through a symbiotic relationship with the county and the planning department, we've gone through the complete process. It's been a struggle and difficult, but we pulled it off. I think that when we all started this and voted all legal, we all thought that the county would profit from this, that it would be a better thing for our county, that we would get revenues, that we would get tourism, that it would be a better place. This initiative is 2 steps forward and 1 step back. I think that all the supervisors here today have made a good point and have represented us well, and I think that you have good intentions, as well as you, John. I want to thank you very much for listening to me. I'm sure that you can hear the passion in my voice. Everything has already been said by many people in this room, many I know already. Thank you very much, once again.
Thank you. And one more speaker. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Colin Adams from Willow Creek. I'm the owner and operator of Sun Gold Flat in Willow Creek and also Bigfoot Cannabis Company. I've worked hard my whole life to get where I am today, and I've invested everything in my local economy and community, and this initiative would put me out of business. The only farms left now are the most responsible farms. The green rush is over. The cultivators that this initiative supposedly targets are pretty much gone. The proponents of this initiative want to destroy this industry. I think that's pretty obvious. This initiative is not good for anyone. It's not workable for the county, obviously. It would destroy the farms, and it doesn't work for the proponents because it doesn't achieve their stated goals. If you signed this initiative, you either didn't read and understand its implications, or if you did and you want to destroy the industry, but I don't think this is the intention of most of the people who signed it. And if you did sign it, you should read this staff report. I asked the board to oppose this initiative and pursue litigation to stop it. And I asked this board to protect what's left of this industry, the people here before you, because we are the industry. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Another commenter? Welcome.
Hi guys, thank you. I'm just here to show face as another farmer that would be negatively impacted by this. I don't need to repeat everything that's been said, but I can't get more I can't expand my solar, I can't get more water tanks. I can't even build a house to like live comfortably on my property, which would suck. It also shuts down the co-op that we're trying to form to have community cooperation, like to all work together. Also, just kind of in general, this gives every other county a competitive advantage over us. We're already struggling, so why do it? Like, I really like the idea of just rejecting it. If you guys can do that, please just do it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Excellent. Well, I very much appreciate all the commenters, and thank you all for being as concise as you could. You've left us some good time to be able to discuss and make some decisions, so I'll bring it back to the board. But first, Director Ford, did you want to provide any comments, clarifications, et cetera, to what you've heard here today?
I'd just like to say 2 things. One thing to one of the commenters who mentioned the fable of pre-existing. I would invite that person to come in. I'd love to meet with the person and walk through the cultivation area verification process that we've gone through.
Okay.
I mean, because we do have records in the file showing what the pre-existing cultivation was. And anybody who's been through that knows what a painful process that's been.
70% of them, right?
That's right. Actually, it's a little more than 70%, but.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to say is that we had language in the presentation today that I probably took out and shouldn't have, but the costs relative to cannabis permitting and inspections and renewals are borne by the applicant. So one of the real downsides here isn't so much what it's going to cost the public, but the cost of regulatory compliance for the farmer. And at some point, that gets to a point where it's no longer feasible to do the activity because the cost of compliance is so high. And so that's one of the real dangers here, and I just wanted to point that out.
Great, thank you very much. And I had Supervisor Arroyo with her hand up, and then Supervisor Bone, I know, wanted to say something, and then Bushnell. So back to the board.
Thank you to everyone who spoke up and shared their perspectives. I know this is very hard. And I also wanted to share, and for full transparency, I forwarded these emails that were received. I read some emails from the proponents of this initiative on the break, and they were forwarded to our deputy clerk of the board and for inclusion down the line, so everyone can see them. But they did come in because one of the proponents said that they're snowed in and have limited connectivity where they are. So take that for what it is. I'm sorry? They may be listening right now, or they may not be. I'm not sure. But for whatever reason, they are not able to be here and calling in, and that had to do with the weather, apparently. So I will say that they both expressed willingness to meet and to talk and to go through some of their understanding of the definitions, as well as neither of them overtly stated that they would be willing to consider withdrawing the initiative, and I don't think that that's the. I wouldn't ask either of them to say that at this moment in time until their understanding was that the ad hoc committee was going to reach out to them and going to meet, and they expressed interest in doing that. So I just wanted to share that with everyone here, that they're still willing to converse about it. What that exactly looks like, I really don't know. But I see that we have very limited options, and I want to confirm with staff that my understanding is correct, that we can provide neutral information on the pros and cons of this in public outreach, and that if someone else wanted to propose an initiative following a similar process, that could happen, but that our options are to provide information on the impacts of this in a neutral manner. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And to clarify my comment earlier, the board as a body can take a position of opposition or support. However, the juncture that you're at today is to develop the ad hoc, to go gain community feedback, and those efforts should not be construed as advocacy one way or the other. That ad hoc could, after speaking with the proponents and continuing engagement with the community, choose to take a position of support or opposition, could agendize that at a public meeting to have that discussion. So that clarification, my concern is with the ad hoc veering into some level of advocacy.
Thank you for that clarification. So I will say that I feel like I can I could participate in this discussion. Obviously, both of the proponents felt comfortable reaching out to me after I made that statement about collaboration, which I appreciate. And since we do have limited options here, I would state that I'm willing to be part of those conversations if we can get to something productive with them. I don't, I think I'll just leave it there for now. I don't think I have a perspective that would keep me from participating in those conversations effectively.
Thank you. Supervisor Bone.
I'd make a motion, and I'm going to have to look at council. Can we have an ad hoc committee of Mr. Arroyo and John Ford? Because then we'll have the knowledge at the table also, because I'm reading the report here today, and this is unquestionably, and just so you know, I'm 110% opposed to this as this sits right now. And I wish they could have been here today. I see they can email and things, but I wish they could, they knew this was on here. My problem being is 7,000 people signed this under a pretense. 2 people today two of the signers apologized for signing it because they were misled. So I'm seeing a common theme that everybody was opposed to this the way it sits. So unless this changes drastically, I don't think this can be met in the middle of the road. And I just from the tone of the email that we got, and I'm glad that they're reaching out to you, I don't think they're going to want me 50-50 either. And 50-50 just probably kills everybody anyway. So I would, if you guys want to go for it, that'd be fine. But I mean, I don't know if an ad hoc is going to get where you want to be. I think what's going to happen is we're going to end up in the courts, and the courts are going to have to decide. And I think it's a weak enough writing, and with what we've come up with, I don't know if it will support. But I applaud you for the effort and go forth.
Supervisor Bushnell?
Thank you. So if I could clarify, an ad hoc would be 2 supervisors and Director Ford. I'd like to throw my name in also. I'm very interested. I had talked to Betsy when the initiative came to our board and had told her I would be contacting her to view some farms in the spring, and she was very open to that. So I also would be interested. As the initiative stands right now, I can tell you I'm opposed to it because it's so detrimental to so many farmers. But I am very hopeful that maybe some collaboration, as she stated in an email, we can maybe get there. But I am interested in that.
Okay, great. Supervisor Bone and then Arroyo.
I just want to clarify. I'm not opposed to this just because of the farmers, sorry. I'm opposed to what this is going to do to the economy, what this is going to do to the environment. If you do not already see, we are down how much in our sales tax and 38% down in nursery. So, I mean, and some of that's going to, none of that's going to come back if this goes through. And so, and the environment, it's not like a lot of these people, no offense, are going to just get out of the business. They're going to go back into the illicit market as before. There are so many options that are bad in this, and then the end result are the farmers are going to take the brunt of it. But the environment, our economy, and I will make the motion to put Ms. Arroyo, Supervisor Arroyo, Supervisor Bushnell, and John Ford on the ad hoc, and wish you well.
So that's basically
Second.
staff recommendation with 2 names made to it. And so we have a motion and a second. Further discussion, I've got Supervisor Arroyo and then back to Bushnell on the queue. Supervisor Arroyo.
Thank you. I did feel that it was worth stating that, I was at, I was campaigning at the same time as I was overlapping with some of, the folks who were out talking about this initiative, and in no way was I campaigning for or against it, but I was out at a lot of farmers markets and stuff like that, and could see people sit down and read it from the clipboard. So while the impacts were likely not clear to many of those people, or the potential impacts, there are plenty of people who sat down and read the initiative before signing this. And I would say that, with more than 7,000 signers, surely some people understood the impact that this would have. And so there's, I just think it's fair to say, and I've heard from folks who did not feel comfortable coming into this room to express a differing position. And I think it's worth acknowledging that there are people who might have felt differently who didn't want to be here today because it was too intimidating. So in the...
That's okay, folks, please.
I don't need heckling from the crowd, thank you. I'm just voicing that I have heard that from some residents who have not felt comfortable entering the conversation. So my hope is that a collaborative conversation would mean bringing back information about what the sideboards are, what the concerns are, what the definitions and understandings were to these chambers to continue having an open and transparent process. But I think it's fair to say that there were people who didn't want to show up today and people who did read what they were signing, because I believe it's being characterized in only one light. And with over 7,000 people, surely there was some nuance there. So anyway, I look forward to the conversation with the ad hoc.
Okay, thank you. I've got Supervisor Bushnell and then Wilson in the queue.
Thank you through the chair. So when Director Ford was explaining the financial impacts and that would be passed to the farmer, I said to the businesses, to everybody in Humboldt County, and I want to just echo what Supervisor Bone said. It is especially in the southern Humboldt area right now, someone said Garberville looked like a bomb went off. Well, yes, there are some issues down there with the businesses that were supported so well with the cannabis community, and it is largely suffering right now. And so while the impact to the process and the initial investment of, if you want to call that, would be from the farmer to the planning department, the loss of what would happen in this community is huge with the remaining farmers that are here that are trying to pivot and be, good community members, which they already are, and put that money back into our mom and pops and brick and mortars, and trying to stay here and support this Humboldt County. One of the commenters had said, the ones that didn't care left or couldn't make it left, and we're here and we're dedicated. That's a true statement. You have so many farms that you already saw that have left. There are, what is it, Director Ford, 1,300 left right now? Out of those 1,300, how many are contemplating whether they're going to be able to cultivate this spring and trying to decide, do I hang out and try the next year? Do I do this? Do I try one more time? Well, that one more time puts money back into our community, and I recognize that. My hope is what Supervisor Arroyo said, that we can sit down and hopefully, and I know Betsy's listening, obviously, because she emailed, they're listening, and realize that maybe there is some compromise. Many of you have said that the 1.0 and 2.0 need some tweaking. So maybe that's where this came from. And I do think you're right. People did read initiative. Some people just don't want cannabis here. End of story. And so, that's we can't change their minds. But for the some that didn't read the initiative, because there are those too, then we need to educate. And that's my hope.
Thank you. And so Supervisor Wilson.
And I assume that the motion maker, Supervisor Bone, you're making the motion for the full A through B on the staff recommendation. Is that, I can read them out if you want, but it's to allow the public the finding of the analysis recommendation. We did that. Make a motion to form an ad hoc committee to work on the following: meet with sponsors of HCRI to determine if alternative actions to voter consideration of the initiative are feasible. And B, work with HCRI sponsors, the public, cannabis industry stakeholders, and staff. And by public, I would include our environmental organizations as well, to develop ordinance modifications. And C, in the event that A and B are not feasible, develop a strategy to respond to HCRI as submitted. Okay, I just wanted to clarify the duties.
The stakeholders, the ones that are going to be affected, we were talking earlier today when we were talking housing and apartments and all this stuff. We make a lot of rules up here that we don't have to abide by. And we don't talk to the people we're making the rules for. You heard a developer applicant say that who's built houses for 40 years. And as far as, it's kind of funny, the part where you've got phone calls about people being intimidated. I remember 8 years ago when these same people were coming in trying to work on a cannabis regulations 1.0, 2.0. And if you want to see people intimidated, these were people that were trying to legalize their illegal grows, giving their addresses, giving their names, under full pretense of they were probably involved in the legal industry, but they put faith in us to do what was best for the county environmentally, for them and their families. So if you wanted to see real intimidation, that was, and there were a lot more people, and we're seeing the influx of what happens when a market drops. And we've done this with timber, we've done this with fish, but people still want to say that timber industry's dead. And you've heard me say we spent $80 million on infrastructure in the last 5 years on the timber industry. So it's not dead, it's just a little bit different. Fishing industry had a pretty good crab season this year. Salmon, probably not so much. But what I'm saying is, and we've got this new fangled thing where you can call in. And that was another option. And what I'm saying is I did not, and I nowhere said that out of the 7,000 people, they were all lied to and didn't know what they were looking at. I'm sure a lot of them read the whole thing. But the understanding, the way it's written, I'm not so sure I wouldn't have signed it if I didn't know a little bit about the situation. Because it's not helping the small farmer out there. And I mean, I wanted to read it, but I didn't. We're talking about 4 farms over 100 acres in Lake County. We're talking, we only have 4 farms over 7 acres. Our biggest controversial farm, one of our biggest ones down there in McCann, was only 5.5 acres on 7,000 acres. So and Mark Lovelace will always win the award of when we were talking about small farms and big farms. And if everybody remembers what a big farm is any farm that's bigger than the one I have. So I think that was the best line ever. We do not have big farms. And we've limited them to 10, a maximum of what we have. So we wrote with a lot of using the transparency and everything else. We wrote a very good ordinance. We upgraded it with 2.0. Does everything need to be tweaked? That's why you go through a general plan every 55 years for us. But I mean, that's why you go through a general plan. So the whole idea of what we're doing is to make this better for everybody. But to make it better isn't to cut somebody off at the knees and say, okay, no more of that, and we never have to worry about it again. I don't think that's where we want to head.
Okay, so I've got Supervisor Arroyo in the queue.
I thought I wasn't.
Oh, sorry, Supervisor Wilson, then Arroyo.
I just wanted to emphasize that part of the reason some of these spaces can be intimidating is we often talk in terms of presupposing people's intentions, what we believe that they think about something. We say, well, their intention is this and their intention is that. And unless someone states that intention explicitly, we really can't presume their intentions. And when we do that, it makes it, it just makes it hard for people to speak honestly in a space. And so I just want to, I know I often say that, please don't put words in my mouth, those sorts of things. And we do this to each other often, and I can see that it is, we can't walk into spaces where we're doing negotiations with an assumption of intention of the people we're going to be working with. Even if our intentions, I have to tell you, sometimes we even layer our own intentions by what we say because we have something farther back in our psyche about what we think the world is like or how it should be. So I just want to make sure that we all do our best to try not to do that. With that, I support the motion. I support the effort to move forward. I support the 2 supervisors and our staff to see what we can do to work something out that is just better policy. And I'm not worried about getting halfway to anything. I just want to get better policy done and something functional coming out the other side. Because I think a lot of people who, even if they read the initiative, may not have had the foresight or understanding or even the time to analyze the details of the legal issues that we would all have to go through with relationship to this, and I can appreciate that. So thanks to everybody for having this conversation.
Thank you. Supervisor Arroyo.
I just wanted to note that I heard what Supervisor Bushnell read aloud from one of the proponents, the email that was read earlier in the meeting, did, express some consternation about the idea of an alternative action to the initiative. And I want to, note that I hear that, but I think our first meeting will really be a chance to talk about the staff report, clear up any misunderstandings, and then see if there's some room to move forward with something different, whatever that might be. And we'll bring back information. But like you said, I don't have any preconceived notions about what this will look like, but I appreciate that we're willing to go through this and that the proponents are willing to converse. Thank you for that.
Thank you. And I'll just say for my closing remarks that thank you all for hanging in there and being those responsible farmers that you are. I agree with many of the commenters who talked about how, this has been whittled down to the really responsible farmers, and I absolutely agree. I'm sorry for those that fell by the wayside along the way, but for those of you who have stuck with it, thank you. We hear you. We're doing our best to try and adapt and evolve and work with this. I was thinking about how Nike has a slogan. What is it? So I don't know, maybe our slogan is just grow it. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so with that, I believe we're ready for, okay, Supervisor Bushnell, please, closing remarks.
Thank you. As I look around the room and I heard the commenters today, I recognize a lot of you live in very rural Humboldt County, and that Willow Creek comes over a huge mountain that's full of snow, the worst storm ever in my lifetime with snow. And I want to thank you for your passion, your commitment to your industry, and for being here, even trekking through that worst amounts of snow. It's horrific out there. And so I feel your passion. I feel your commitment. I think this entire board does. And just our sincere thanks.
So I would say let's vote with our tabs, but I think a computer or two are closed, so we'll do a roll call vote.
That sounds good.
Mike's ready.
Supervisor Madrone?
Yes.
Supervisor Arroyo?
Yes.
Supervisor Wilson?
Yes.
Supervisor Bone?
Yes.
Supervisor Bushnell?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you to the staff as well.
And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you, folks.